right, everybody. Hey, guess what? It is currently Sunday, November 4th, 2018. You're listening to Education with Ed. And, we got the 11th Amendment we're going to be talking about today. And by what I've seen on the 11th Amendment is, it kind of destroys part of the Constitution. So, Ed, why don't you take it away and tell us what the 11th Amendment is about?
Okay. First, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us and, educating themselves as we're educating ourselves, as we're educating others. And this is the frustration. We got a video we're going to play, and with this gentleman, Hughes. It's interesting. I've done some research on the guy, and he's a college teacher. He's a teacher. He's a Democrat, and he's for the system, and he supports them because he has to because of his employment position. So the videos that we play with him, you'll notice some things he says, and it's to protect their system. And one reason why I like playing his videos because I want to make sure people comprehend that seeing that this guy is doing these videos and putting them out to schools and stuff like this, somebody has to come back and make sure that the Republic side is told. Because we're a Republican form of government. We are not a democracy, no matter what you hear. And that is the frustration we live, because everybody sits there and wants to say we're a democracy. Well, I keep asking people, prove it. Because every democracy that has been in existence has failed. I mean, come on, Adolf Hitler was a democracy. I mean, look at real history here, what's done. So an 11th Amendment is a very interesting deal because it doesn't quite destroy all the Constitution, but it gives, I'll let him put his version in and then I'll get mine in, because it is very interesting because you have to realize, too, back when these administrative rules were going and being passed, called the Constitution Amendments, okay, because that's the first start of all administrative rules when you think about it. That's how it all started, through the Constitution. So when we start looking at real history here and putting all the pieces together, we start putting things together and we start realizing that our forefathers had a lot of good intentions. They knew a lot of rights they were doing because they left the country with religious convictions and destruction. I mean, the Christian Crusades and all that stuff, and we're still doing it today. I always love it when people tell me, I'm a Christian, but then you support rape, rob, and pillaging when it comes to your voting and when you come and speak out. You don't know the Constitution and you're whining. And that's the one thing that people got to realize. That, when it comes to your right to protest, know what you're protesting, at least. At least be honest to yourself of what you're protesting with. And when you're waving that flag that you call the American flag, that's the war flag. And so realizing that you're waving a war flag, so you're committing war. That's what you're telling the general public, hey, we want to have war. And that's what it means. You want to have war. There is a peace flag that was developed in 1868. And we do have that on new.org and trackers, too. And it's everything I send out usually has the peace flag in it. But see, that's the one thing that we have to know the difference of our country. We have to know the difference of what's going on. It's like immigration. Everybody's whining about the 14th Amendment. Well, if you read my stuff and what I sent out, we have an actual copy from Congress to prove the 14th Amendment was never ratified. And the last amendment that was ratified was the 13th Amendment with attorneys and surnames. That's why when people say, oh, you're an activist. No, don't give me the title of nobility. I don't want no title of nobility. Because that's not what I'm doing it for, title, nobility, or to, spout my horn off, and that's what it all basically comes down to. So we do have things that have been in place to protect us through the Constitution, and it's learning how the Constitution works compared to what we want to go against it. That's why when Trump came out and said that the 14th Amendment does not guarantee citizenship. There's nothing in the Constitution that guarantees it. And that's a fact. Because that goes back to the first Immigration Act that they started in 1774, then they enacted in 1787. And we have posted that up and put that out, and I put all that stuff out. And that's what I say. When you get the information, you get real truth. And that's what we have to go by, because in a court of law, hearsay is not acceptable. Because a cop cannot go in and testify in a court case unless he personally witnessed it. Otherwise, his hearsay is testimony. But then if he goes in as a corporation member, his testimony legally does not account. Or constitutionally, does not count. And that's the one thing that people need to realize, what the Constitution does. I've been getting a lot of emails from people here lately, let's get the grand juries going, let's do this again, and it's like, folks, you got juries in your communities. Get the public employees and corporate members off the juries. If you want to make sure you have what you want, 12-man juries and stuff, get the corporation off it. We get the corporation off it, then the corporations are out of it, and then that way we got our 12-man juries back the way it's supposed to be. But why they have administrative rules and corporate people running it, and people are not paying attention to these corporate people are running it, and violating their constitutional oath 90% of the time. And remember, if a clerk changes court records and you can prove it, we have the criminal crimes on that, the codes and administrative rules, and court cases. Because they cannot alter the documents as what, they are doing. And that's the one thing is I do see people are waking up to that a lot here recently. I've been sending out a lot of information on that. And so I know people are waking up, and that one is getting out, and people are recently filing on the clerks now. So that is a positive thing that's happening. That's another thing that's going to change, and that will also, too, help out the immigration status. Because anybody who put in an affidavit of being a citizen and they can't prove their bloodline under capital C citizen, not lower C, hey, that's what the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, contract gave us to protect our country, ourselves. See, there's a lot of things that the Constitution has in it that is our benefactor out of it. And so the whole point is comprehending it. And a lot of people want to take these Democratic sides and some of these TV commercials from these universities, and they still screaming to save democracy. Well, the only reason why those universities want to save democracy is so that way they can save their jobs and their pensions. Okay, because technically those pensions of public employees are not guaranteed, seeing that they've been robbing it. And so the taxpayers technically are not liable to reimburse what they have stolen. Their insurance companies are, and they are themselves responsible. So, but that's here and there. That's another matter that we'll see becoming probably in the mainstream media coming up here by Christmas. But it's interesting when you start seeing how people are opening their eyes, waking up across the country. It is really happening. This immigration deal has spurred a whole bunch of stuff. The borders are, to my comprehension, and what I've heard is pretty secure, because there's over 400,000 native people at the borders, including the military. So, and, like I said, Donald Trump's right. We don't protect the land, the soil. And I don't know if anybody caught that today in Donald Trump's speech. Was that yesterday? or the day before, Donald Trump actually came out and stated, if we don't protect the soil, we all lose. And that was a statement. If we don't protect this soil, we all lose. So I was really shocked and impressed when he said that instead of land. So you got to realize that, the stuff that everybody's sending out to Trump, he is getting it, he is listening, and, we got to give him credit on that. He is paying attention. So that is the one thing that's good. Anyhow, let's get to the video, and then I want to head into some of the stuff with the state and what this guy says about authority.
All right, we'll get it going.
Hey guys, welcome to Hip Hughes History. It's back, baby. That's the Constitution for Dummies series. We're gonna hit a home run with the 11th Amendment. What are you doing watching a video about the 11th Amendment? Nobody knows the 11th Amendment. But you're gonna. Giddy up for the learning. Here we go. All right, short and sweet, guys. This amendment really is great if you're talking about federalism. Let's read the 11th Amendment and then we'll break it down like a Kit Kat bar.
The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state.
So those words are directly being written to reverse something that's in the Constitution. In Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution, the Supreme Court is given certain powers called original jurisdiction, where they're allowed to hear certain types of cases. And one of those cases was when a citizen of one state would sue another state. And the Supreme Court had the power, according to themselves, Article 3, Section 2, to hear that case. So in a sense, it's really kind of diluting the power of the state. The state's not protected against, basically, lawsuits from private citizens of other states. What are you doing? What are you punking me? I'm a state. I'm immune. So we have a Supreme Court case in 1793. It's called Chisholm versus Georgia. And it's really one of the first big star cases to hit the Supreme Court, really early on in the Republic's history. We're still under like Washington times and such. But in this court case, Chisholm was suing Georgia for money that Georgia owed him from debts occurred during the Revolutionary War. So he was all like, I'm going to take you to court, boy. And it ended up in the Supreme Court. Georgia was all like, I ain't even showing up because I'm immune. I'm a sovereign. I should be immune. I'm a state, and my state shouldn't have to even answer to this ridiculous charge. Well, Georgia lost. So immediately Congress was like, what up with that? So they went down the road of amending the Constitution. So in a sense, the federal government was exercising its Article 3, Section 2 powers by saying we have the ability to hear these court cases, to in a sense have the ability to put our thumb on the state. And maybe people were fearful that the federal government would, use that power, its judicial power, to really go after state actions. So the states respond by amending it with Congress's approval. 1795, the 11th Amendment hits the books. It reverses Chisholm versus Georgia. So forevermore, if you're a citizen of New York, you can't sue New Jersey. And the courts have even interpreted it to mean that you can't even sue your own state. And certainly foreign country citizens can't sue Alabama. So in a sense, it's a win for the states. There you go. That's the 11th Amendment. I don't even know what else to say except click my face and subscribe because you win a free pony. Don't you want a free pony? I jest. Where attention goes, energy flows, guys. We'll see you next time when we do the teaching on the YouTubes.
Okay, you guys get the general drift, but also, too, in 1863, when the 11th Amendment was going through, they filed the first United States Incorporation, Inc. So they knew this was going on, and the Supreme Court has already overturned part of that because, yes, you can sue the state corporation, and they're elected and public servants or servants. And so we are allowed to sue them, but we have to prove the damages they have caused. So, for kidnapping, harassing, and all the stuff that, we know a lot of us have gone through, we have to prove all that and writing that in the affidavit and with the facts. But with the coming across with the states, with the 11th Amendment on this, it's very interesting. Because the state can sue, but the one thing is, they can only sue in gold and silver. And by law, your elected and public employees, which I have, and I believe we do have on new.org and trackers, and I know I've posted it all over the new.org, New Oregon Trackers Facebook, Recall Cape Brown Facebook, as well as United States for America Elected and Public America, tongue twisted. The United States Elected and Republic Elected Employees Oversight, and as well, it's been posted on the Civil War 1866 Lawful Bloodline American Facebook page as well, that public employees technically could only be paid in gold and silver. And so in doing further research on it, that was part of the structure that was going on before the 1933 Bankruptcy Act. So, I'm still putting things together, but it looks when they put the Bankruptcy Act, they set it to make sure that public employees were supposed to be paid in gold and silver. But then when the British Bankruptcy Act, because remember the Bankruptcy Act, the British government did go bankrupt, so we the people, because it bankrupted the United States Corporation that was founded by England. Or if you do the background, even the last recorded history that I found on it, was in Florida in 1925, and that was the last time I seen that United States Inc. was re-registered as a corporation. But it is, backtracking all this history and putting all this history together and trying to get it all in choreographed history. So that way, people, when they read a lot of the stuff that, especially what I put out, I'm trying to get it more in choreographic history and the timeline, of what, why, and how it changed and the circumstances of what, why, and how. So these are good things that we are getting out. But the one thing is I want you guys to read the 11th Amendment, and there's a couple other videos. And the one thing I was trying to get is the Lighthouse Law Club video up on this, because I got a couple of their videos I want to start doing a little dab on Saturday night with some of their videos. They're about 15 minutes long. But the Lighthouse Law Club has been really coming out with a lot of factual history circumstances. So if you get a chance, go over, like their Facebook page, and get some of their videos, because they are worthwhile. And do that to Rob Ryder as well, because Rob Ryder does a lot of beneficial things for people out there. And, so it does help them out when you give them a friend's, a subscribe on their page. And so, but it is interesting, because when they're trying to say that you can't sue the state. But the thing is that really doesn't matter, because we already got the laws and administrative rule and congressional reports up on the page, and I've got more that I'm putting out, and I'm putting that together in this new instrument. So they can't run and hide. See, they do this, and you got this guy that's reading this stuff, and he reads part of it, but then wants to interpret the rest. So, like I said, look him up. You'll find out. He is a Democrat. He is a corporate member. And so, he can't cross his corporate lines. People comprehend that. But some of his videos, he does bring out good points. But the one I didn't like when he was telling about how you need a lawyer, and the Constitution does not say that. It says counsel. So your counsel is not a lawyer, even though that people have developed learning the word counsel is determined as a lawyer in today's crazy minds of people who don't know real history, what counsel means compared to a lawyer or attorney. And I always have fun arguing with people with that about attorney or lawyers. hate to tell you, but in Bouvier and Black's Law Dictionary, lawyer and attorneys are one and the same. So, I mean, I've argued with a lot of people online. I've even argued with a few attorneys online about different things until I sent them stuff. And, of course, I never heard them back after that because I guess they didn't like their administrative rules. But the other point is I want to bring up to people, when you do file your instruments, don't forget, for the ones that I've sent you that information on the clerks, what they can and cannot do. You know, just include that in that, because now you got evidence, because if the clerk doesn't file it or do anything, now you've already warned her. You don't have to write a letter back and forth and play that game. You already put it in your original instrument, so it's already there, so you don't have to go back and, you know, do that. You just file on her or him, because these things are changing the country. And what Trump is doing is changing the country. And so let's make it clear, I don't vote. I try to stay out of politics as much as I can to a degree, except for what I do online and, you know, the writings I do. Because I've never been one of those that likes the front page. So, but anyhow, so let me open up the floor to see if anybody's got any thoughts, and then we'll go on.
All participants are unmuted.
Any thoughts? Well, I guess we're hitting these points very quick and to the point, and where people are getting it. So, no thoughts? Okay. Well, producer, you got anything to add?
Only thing I got to add is, again, do not take our word for it. Do not take Hip Hughes' word for it. Why don't you research yourself? Learn the truth yourself. Don't go out and ask your neighbor what's this or that. Go and research original documents and original instruments and original cases. When do they start copyrighting their rules and administrative crap?
Oh, realistically, that started in about 1851, but it didn't get through until the administrative bill passed in the United States Corporation in 1940.
All right, so pretty much any case.
And you can type in 1940 administrative rules, and you'll see how it started, what the structure was, and that's where the cities and counties and states are going by today.
Yeah, but basically, anything before 1940, go after those cases and stuff like that. Those are the ones that they cannot say, well, you can't use it because we copyrighted it. Those are the stuff you want to use. And also remember, most, you know, the old Western shows and everything, the problem is, back in the Old West, they had marshals, and the marshals took care of multiple counties. You had sheriffs. The sheriffs took care of that one town. And you had a judge.
Circuit judge.
Usually a circuit judge that would go around in all different types of towns and all throughout certain counties. Where the hell were the lawyers? More often than not, they ran lawyers out of town in the Old West.
Right.
Even back then, they did not like the lawyers. So think about that. Everybody's like, oh, lawyers are our friends. You ask a lawyer on, okay, or did you pass the bar exam? Do you got your bar license? Yes. All right, so your British Accreditation Registry? No. Ask them, what the hell does bar stand for then if it isn't British Accreditation Registry? They won't be able to tell you more often than not. They'll I'm not sure about, you passed the test, you got the license, and you're not sure what it stands for? Come on.
I'll get back to you.
They know bar stands for British Accreditation Registry. They're just told to deny that it stands for that, because if they admit it, they admit that they are dual citizens and that their loyalty...
They're committing racketeering, fraud, and extortion.
Exactly. So look, listen, and research. LLR. Just do that. Research and come up with your own opinions on these, your own viewpoints on it, because we might have missed something that you will catch, and then you can come back and tell us, hey, you missed this. That's the main thing right there. Ed does his best all week. He's either working on other people's, trying to help other people through their little cases, and I know to them it's not little cases, but when you've got a case, he's just giving them information. He's not doing anything for him. He's giving them information. But when you got a case about, oh, they stole my car, compared to the work that Ed's doing on recalling Kate Brown. Kate Brown has been racketeering over, what was the last count was over 3.6 million just in her campaign fundings.
Yeah, did you see what the paper put out today on her?
No, I didn't.
Forbes.
But
Go ahead, somebody said something.
what was that, hon?
Forbes.
Oh, Forbes put it out on her. Okay.
Yeah. And not only that, the Oregonian had a piece on her the other day that was similar to Forbes. So it is being brought out how she's stolen, and stolen right from the lottery funds itself.
And yet
So I don't know. I knew some guy that actually brought that attention to the board.
oh, that was some blowhard that didn't know shit.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, I mean, even when I wrote her indictment up, you know, she's born in Spain. Everybody keeps going, well, her parents were in the Air Force. I don't give a shit. The Constitution says you have to be born on this soil. End of story. And that's what Donald Trump was saying to, was it yesterday or the day before in the news? You know, we have to protect this soil, is what he said. He didn't say land.
Yep. And
So I don't know how many people actually caught that, but when he said that, I caught that right away.
look at it. Look at it. I don't know if I'm right on this or not, but I believe the administrative rules that basically allows them to have foreign our bases in foreign countries. We don't own that soil. We are renting that land. Therefore, that's not American soil at all.
No, you're talking about where we have our outposts basically at.
Our consulates, our military
Yeah.
bases, all that. We are renting it. They can kick us out at any time.
Yep.
It's not our soil. Therefore, even if she was born right there, it's still on foreign soil, not on American soil. Somebody else want to say something?
Well, I guess with that, then we'll call it a night. And we'll say maybe the Great Spirit and Mother Earth take care of you, and the Creator look over you.
Yes, thank you very much, and I apologize if it's been really, really short, but it was straight and to the point. You can sue your state as long as you have definitive proof, and you don't want to sue the state in an Article 1 court. You want to make sure it's an Article 3 court. Article 1
Yeah,
court...
don't forget to write Title 18. What was that number? 32771. You have to be a corpus delicti to sue. Otherwise, you are birth certificate dead body.
Ed,
Yeah.
I thought it was Title 18, 3771, not 32771.
Well, thank you for the correction. You are right. But I was thinking of another number. I know it's the other number. It has something to do with that one, but you are absolutely correct. So thank you for the correction. So anybody else? Well, unless it was short and sweet, and we'll call it an evening.
All right. Thank you very much for listening. It is Sunday, November 4th, 2018. It is currently 5:31 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you're looking at your clock and saying, no, it's 6:31, you didn't roll back. You need to roll back. Come on, fall back. Anyways, Have a good night, and we'll see you next Saturday with Disclaimers by Ed Johnston.